Hey guys, Chris Dick here. We're going to carry on with the third part of our tutorials for installing Hadoop. This tutorial is a fairly lengthy one, so buckle in and let's get moving here. So we are logged in currently as our HD user that we created in the last session. Okay, there's a few stages that we have to go through. The first one that we have to do is download our copy of Hadoop from the Apache website. Okay. Now you can go up there and check it out. There's several versions up there. Right now I'm using what appears to be the most recent version. So we're gonna paste that command in here and get moving. Now this is going to install it or download it into downloads slash Hadoop. Okay. So we're going to run that, and I will pause for a while this finishes downloading, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, we're back up and running here. We've downloaded our Hadoop. It takes a little while, so you may want to just go take a break while that happens, unless you're on a very fast connection. The next one we're going to do is we're going to uh, take that file and we're going to extract it into a folder. Now, just so you're familiar with this set of commands here, I usually add this little thing just so when the password comes up and is asked, it just fills it in for me. It just makes my life a little easier sometimes, and it looks kind of cool. So this command is going to take the tar file that we downloaded and it's going to extract it into usr slash local. That means it's going to create a folder by the name of that one right there. Okay, so we're going to extract that. Now that just takes a couple minutes or about a minute or so sometimes, and the next one we're going to do is we're going to actually take the file that we extracted or the directory that we extracted, and we're going to rename it to Hadoop. Okay, and it's a fairly simple short command, but this process takes a little bit of time sometimes, so we can talk a little bit. All right, the next thing we're going to do here is we'll paste that command in. All right, now when we're using the sudo command, just so you understand, everything gets put in as a root ownership. So that doesn't really help our cause very much. In the case, because we're not root, and if we want to run any processes in it, we don't have that ability. So let's just look at the properties on our Hadoop folder, just so you can see. So you can see that the owner is root. Now again, that's okay if we're always running it as root, but we're not. We're going to be running it always, in this case, as HD user. So for the moment, we're going to be setting up our folder structure as being used by HD user. We're going to do that in just a moment, but we're going to deal with a couple other things first. Okay, so first, the next step, we're going to be setting in our environment variables. So if you recall, in our Java installation, we set up, we're using the bash.bashrc file. Put in that first command right there, and then what we can do, because if you remember, all the things that we have in here are all going to go into that bashrc file, and then we're going to check it out and make sure that actually took place. And then because we made those environment changes, we also need to restart and confirm that those changes took place. So let's just double check here. Bash rc, okay, and as you can see, those new additions are down at the bottom. Now, if you want to be a little cleaner and neater, you can add some extra lines between them. But for now, we know that they're in. They all work, and once we restart, we're going to know for sure that they work. Okay. Now I can always, one thing I do is I just do the sudo reboot. But again, because what we're doing here is for video, what I'm going to do is fully shut down and then take a snapshot and then reboot. Now I take a snapshot at this point because this is usually when the problems start to happen. You know, what we have is we've downloaded everything, everything's wonderful, and then um, we start, configuring everything. And if something goes wrong between the Java install or the SSH install and Hadoop installation, well, it's easier to just start at the Hadoop downloaded stage and uh, just now that you've got the heavy lifting, that's the one that takes most of the time. So we'll take a snapshot at this point and play our virtual machine. So at this point, we have to do a quick test to confirm that everything is working. Um, Okay, we're back up. And remember, we were going to test our new variables. Let's test Hadoop home. Looks like we've got information there, and that's very, very good. Now, the next thing we have to do is set the ownership of that Hadoop installation folder. We're going to set the ownership here so that the entire folder is owned by HD user. That way that when we run any processes under HD user, it won't give us any permissions problems. So we'll go ahead and set that. HD user is our password there. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time because there's a lot of files in there. Sometimes it go faster, but not a big deal. There we go. We're ready to go. Now we have a couple pieces to set up, and one of them is we're going to be looking in the configuration file folder for Hadoop-env. And let's see, that is in USR, local Hadoop, etc. And there we go. So here's our file we're going to look at. We edit that with gedit. And then what we're looking for in this particular spot is the Java home variable. Now, if you recall back when we were installing Java, this is the situation I'm talking about. For whatever reason, this Java home variable, which should be set, doesn't seem to be picked up very well by Hadoop. So it's shifty, so it's tends to be recommended to just go ahead and set it. So it's a good. This is a good example of now this home variable is set in two places. So if I ever had to change my version of Java, remember we installed this shortcut link here. I don't have to update these files. All I have to do is update the one link file, and that's all I got to do. So this is a good thing for us. So we'll save that. Exit out of that. The next one we have to do is edit the core site XML. Okay, and core site right there. I'm going to take all this configuration properties out, and we're going to put it right in, just like that. Okay. I have it creating a temp folder in my home folder. I tend to like doing it like this because I generally don't have very many permissions problems. But the other thing is that if things end up being in my home folder, I can look at them and I can manage them a little better. If they end up being deep inside the Hadoop folder, they're a little more difficult to get to. Takes me a little more time. So not conducive to speed and productivity if you're doing that way. Now, it's often recommended to change the yarn dash site XML, but but it doesn't affect anything if we don't change it. So we're just going to leave it empty the way it is. Okay. Next one, we're going to we have a MapReduce.xml template. Okay, remember it's a template. There's nothing much in it right now, but a lot of the Hadoop technologies use this kind of concept of a template, and it means that there's pre-filled information in there. If you take the template extension off, it'll set some predefined defaults for you. But again, just a case of protocol, we're going to be copying that out. Okay, and this is just going to rename it, or make a copy and rename it. Okay, let's see, what did this do here? Okay, do we not have a conf? Let's just make sure we have that, see if that works. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is a good one to fix here. Let's make this correction. If we look back up here, okay, you'll notice I use this /$, okay, and I did not do that in that example. Okay, so now what I have to do, I can still make this work, but I have to do a little bit of legwork. So we'll go find our file, and alphabetical, Chris, there we are, edit with gedit, and we're just going to go all the way down to the bottom. That's where our file is. Why don't we do a little bit of housekeeping while we're here. If you see, this is where we have that problem. Okay, and we're looking pretty good. I think everything came in the way it's supposed to. And of course, this is read-only because remember we did switch the ownership of that file. So I'm going to backtrack into a couple things that that I did up here. Okay, switch the ownership. We'll save that file, and there we have it. Okay, now we're going to switch the ownership back. Of course, we're going to do our housekeeping, make sure everything's cleaned up. Good. Okay, super. So we're going to go back into our Hadoop folder here and get moving again. Now, where did we end off? Here we are. And one more thing to do. Okay, we're going to just make sure that we've got those things set up here. We'll echo our Hadoop conf-dir, and we've got the right information now, so that's fantastic. Okay, and we're going to be doing a reboot anyway, so I'm not really too concerned. I'm not going to be running any processes while we've got a sketchy looking path variable that will likely be sitting there. Okay, so our MapReduce file, go in there, copy that out. Okay, save that one. And one more thing to do here, we have actually a couple more things to do, but not much. We have our data directories to set up. Okay, and then we configure our HDFS site XML. So we set that up, and there we are. Okay, run that one, and then we set our permissions to wide open. Okay, this gives anybody that is working with these files has the right to manage them. So there we have it. Okay, now that's not super secure, so just bear with me on that one. If you are trying to run this in a production environment, I certainly wouldn't recommend that. But there is a lot of literature on getting deeper into Hadoop. I would certainly recommend giving those sites a shot. All right, now for these settings here, you'll notice I've got a couple comments out, so I'm going to delete these comments, and but I'm going to explain the lines below them. So these are the files that or the directories that we just created. Okay, we need one for the name node and one for the data node. All right, remember we're running on a single node cluster, so everything is running directly off this machine. All right. Okay, now one more thing here. Let's do this here. We're going to set up, we're going to return our permissions back to root on the HD home. Okay, because we don't need to do any more changes to things, but I am, however, going to set the permissions. And this is because the Hadoop itself, when you're formatting or you're setting up clusters, it loves to complain. So when there's permissions issues. So the next step, we're going to do a full reboot again. And before I format, once again, I've got everything kind of configured here, and I'm just going to take a snapshot called Hadoop configured. So we'll shut down. And the next step is we're going to format our HDFS and then start the nodes and then check that all the clusters are up and running. Okay, take our snapshot. So Hadoop configured. Excuse me. All right, we run that. Okay, we're back up here after our restart and snapshot. Now, the next thing we're going to do is actually format our HDFS, and then we're going to review all the log files and make sure there's no problems with our installation as well. This is an important phase here because you'll discern whether there's problems with the system, but there's sometimes permissions issues. Some of the issues are usually pretty easy to deal with. Others, not so much. So we're going to figure all these out as we go. So let's get our terminal system set up here. We'll copy our command and get running. I think we're pretty good. We should be all ready. As you can see, there's a huge amount of steps in doing this, so we try to make it all as easy as possible as we go here. So this will get started in just a moment. Running a little bit slow, so I'll have to look into that and hopefully report on it in another video. All right, here we go. So far, so good. We'll just widen that up. Looking like we're moving along well. Let's see. So far, only information is showing to us, so that's a good thing. And we're looking pretty good. Now, the next stage, as I mentioned, is we're going to look at the log files. So we go into our Hadoop directory, user local Hadoop, and let's see. Oh yes, I haven't actually started anything, so we don't know if we have any problems. We will get our logs if we run start all. Now what you're going to notice is this little notice here that says this script is deprecated. Instead use startdfs.sh and startyarn.sh. You can certainly run both, but I for the time being love using start all. I have found that if I use the two statements that certain things don't get started properly, and just as a note, just something to think about. When you see this come up, just put yes. It is something that, as far as I can tell, is related to IPv6. If you turn that off in your settings, you will likely avoid that issue. And I may try to turn that off in another session, but we'll keep you posted. All right, so let's review our log files. So we should have a log directory here. We'll check in our data node first. And once we can take a look at it, it should be error-free. And you'll see if there's all this top stuff is nothing to be concerned about. It's just all the jar files that are located. So far we have all infos, which is just information to say, hey, I did this and I did this. So we're looking very good. I am not seeing any problems, and we're at the end of the file. That's fantastic. Lord knows I make 100,000 errors while I try to work through these videos and start things. So don't be shy to see if you see that you have problems. We have a couple things here that at some point may need to be concerned about. You can do a check on this and see if there's anything that you should look at. But right now it's just a warning. It's not fatal. Okay, it could end up being something problematic later on in the future. So do look into those kinds of errors. Okay, so we are looking really good. Not bad, not bad. Okay, next one. Let's look at this log here. Secondary, well, you know what? We don't have a secondary really, but we'll check it out just so you can see what it's all about. It's the same sort of thing. We don't have any issues as far as I can tell. And then we go down to yarn. Okay, we'll pull that one up. This is an important one too, because this is all of our MapReduce functions. We all have infos here, so this is good. One thing to think about here. This is memory allocations. One thing that we, because we are on a single node, we do want to be concerned about how it allocates memory, but for what we're doing, not so concerned about it at this point. Okay, so that's another one not to be worried about. Last one is our resource manager. We'll scroll all the way down to the bottom again. So far, so good. So far, so good. What are we looking at here? Now this, you see here, like it goes all these nice little entries and all very predictable, and then all of a sudden it throws off. So we should just pay attention to it. It doesn't look like it's a problem, so I'm not going to worry about it. It's still looking like it's just information it's giving us. And we're at the end of the file. Wow, fantastic. Okay, minimize that. I think we're pretty good. Let's check our JPS here. That's our Java processes. That just tells us what processes are running through Java. Okay, and we've got 6 processes. You should see JPS, data node, resource manager, node manager, secondary name node, and name node. All right. Now the next step, we want to load up. We'll load up Firefox here, and we will test the web UI. We can also, I'm going to use my Google Chrome on my guest computer and double check that. And to do this on my guest computer, I just have to get the connection information. Okay, so I can get that. It is, my IP is 192.168.132.135. Okay, so I go over here, and my port for my HDFS web UI is 50070. Okay, so remember, if you're going to try to type this in on the guest, that won't work because localhost is you on your guest computer. It is not the virtual machine. Okay, we'll do there. So this is on the guest machine. So your local host is this little window right here. Now the one all important thing is double check that you've actually got one node here. Okay, once you've got one node, you're good as gold. All right. Now we should check up any of our HDFS settings. We should just make sure that we've got everything set up and ready to go there too. So we'll minimize that. Okay, HDFS, DFS, and this is how we're going to check our system here. First of all, we're going to do a list, and what this is going to do is just tell me if there's anything, any directories that are on this or what directories are available. So currently there's nothing, so I'm going to make a directory, okay? And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a directory for me the user, okay? So I'm going to create that. All right, so what this will end up with is a directory called HD user. All right, we'll go back here, we'll list our directories. I should see one that says HD user. Good, there we are, we have it right there. Now just so you can see it, if I go back over to the web UI, I can go to utilities and then browse the file system, and it'll come up in just a moment. Okay, there we have it. I can click in there, and I can see who owns it. That is HD user owns that directory. Okay, we'll run a couple other commands again, just making sure that everything kind of works properly. So here I'm going to create excuse me, a file. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to create a file. I'm going to move this stuff down here because that doesn't belong way up there. So we're going to take this command, and this is going to create a file locally. Okay, it's going to create a file called my text file, and I'm going to show you where that is. Go home, and there we have our my text file. If you look at the contents here, it says hello. This is my first distributed fault tolerant data set. Close that up. Okay, and the next step is we're going to copy that file into user, okay, into me, that being HD user. Okay. And once this is done, I'm going to list the contents, and we can actually go again. We can go into HD user on our web UI, and it's much faster to go this way, so you can do that way. All right. And then if I go back over here, I can do user again. Instead of doing user, you can just simply do HD user or whatever you choose, just so you see the example here. I'll type it in physically. Okay, that should be there in a second. There we have it. Good. All right. What else should we try to do? Let's do this. We'll remove the files. Okay. Remove any of those files. If all goes well, we won't see it anymore in the web UI. I do that. We have a blank folder now. Okay. And one last one. We'll remove the directory and do that. And what you'll see here is, because I'm in the HD user directory, okay, I'm going to try to browse it. Okay, if I do this, it's going to tell me it doesn't exist. So I can, the neat thing about this web UI is I can specify a path, and I can just move right in. So this is the root of my HDFS right here. Excellent. Okay, guys, that is that. I'm going to shut down, take one more snapshot here of our excellent process, and we will be done for this video. Really appreciate you joining me. let's see, Hadoop final install and running, installed and running, I guess, eh? Takes the snapshot. Beautiful. All right. Thank you. And remember to like and share. I love the comments, so please, if you appreciate my work, please let me know. I'm going to be doing the next video. Will be installing Hive. A very short one, hopefully, and just keep me going, guys. I'm appreciating all the love and support. So remember to subscribe and like and share. Thanks a lot.